a little bit.
Gotcha.
Not horribly, but first world problems.
All
But I
right.
think we're live. I hope we're live.
Yeah, I just got the notification to let me know that we are live.
Great, good.
I can sense.
I'm glad one of us knows what's going on. I rarely know what's going on, but honestly, ignorance is bliss, and I like things that way. So I typically start these off by mentioning that everybody here either knows who I am already because they're sick and tired of seeing my mug, or they don't care, honestly. So I'm going to skip that completely. We're going to jump right to you. But before we jump right to you, I'm going to say that for some astute viewers who have been around long enough, this may be a familiar face that we're chatting with today, and I will let you explain why. So go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you may look familiar to some people.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Steve Glemchowski. And the reason why Jason brings that up is because I used to work in Gold's Gym way back in the day, probably about 11, 12 years ago. I used to work at the DeWitt store, or the DeWitt Club, I should say. And while I was there, I think I worked there for about 10 months before I ventured off into the sports realm. So after finishing my degree at the University of Buffalo in exercise science, when I finished my master's degree there, I came back home to Syracuse, New York, and Gold Gym was the first place that employed me as a trainer. And I worked there for about 10 months. And then I actually had an opportunity to work with the University of Alabama. Basically all the sports teams there, primarily football. But I actually helped out with softball. So I worked with the softball team, which won the national championship the prior year. And I worked with the men's and women's swimming and diving teams, as well as women's rowing. So I worked down there for about a year. We won the national championship with the University of Alabama football team, Go Tide. And then an opportunity came up to where I could go work with tactical athletes, so for the military. So then I ventured off into that realm, working for a company called Exos, which was formerly Athletes Performance. And through Exos, I got a chance to work with our U.S. men's and women's special operation forces, whether it's the Air Force, Army, Marines. I got a chance to work with all of them. My first station was Mildenhall, RAF, Royal Air Force Base, Mildenhall in the UK. So I was there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then an opportunity came up to come back home, back closer to home in Virginia. So I moved, I went to Fort Belvoir, working for a USASOC Army element. So Special Operation Forces Army, just in Northern Virginia. So I worked down there for about 3 years. And then I got a chance to go back overseas because I liked it so much. My last spot was working with NATO Special Operation Forces headquarters in Mons, Belgium. So I lived in Mons, Belgium for about 3 years. And then now here I am today back home because we wanted to be close to family and friends back in Syracuse, New York. And now I'm working at Elevate Fitness in the Liverpool gym. So lots of experience working with tactical special forces, US, and now I can put on my resume all the European nations, well, at least the NATO nations. So there's 29 NATO nations other than the US in NATO. So I got a chance to work with a large majority of them, helping them establish their human performance programs. Believe it or not, a lot of them don't really have a human performance program, which typical of a sports team would have. They don't have a strength and conditioning coach. They don't have physical therapists or mental performance coaches or registered dietitians. Sometimes they'll just basically point out to the strongest guy or gal in the group and say, hey, you lead physical training. And that's what they have to work with. And that was one of my jobs, was to help them establish a program within their budget to help them have something in regards to a human performance program to get their operators, get their personnel to work as long as humanly possible before they started to break down. Because overseas, especially overseas in Europe, you had to be operational be able to kick the door down whenever, if you're called upon, up until the age of 50 to 60 years old. So you had to be able to pass a physical fitness test a lot later in life, because they don't have the great benefits that we have here in the United States in regards to retirement and things like that, and VAs and things like that. So well, long story short, here I am again back in Syracuse, and yeah, that's basically it. Things come full circle, I guess, right?
I guess so. So I'm surprised by a couple of things. So I'm learning new things, just like everybody who may be watching. So number one, I'm surprised to hear that it was only 10 months that you were with us the first time around. I don't know why, but in my mind, for some reason, it seemed like it had to have been at least a couple of years. So I'm surprised by that. But our memories do strange things, right? Like strange histories. We all create strange
well, I kind of
recollections of
hit
the
the
past.
ground. I hit the ground running. So as soon as I started, I think it was in October. It was right after I finished with the Buffalo Bills, and I had just finished working with them, and I came over like around October timeframe, and then essentially I hit that rush of New Year's resolution folks, and I was basically training in the Do It store. So you may not have seen me a lot there. That's maybe why, because I was there for, essentially I was training about 120 hours a month just with training. That's how many clients I had. I was training, and that carried me over until around the summertime. And then the summertime is when the opportunity popped up, and I was able to go to the University of Alabama. So essentially, I think it was I started there around August-ish. So that's why it was such a short but sweet stint at DeWitt.
So it must have seemed like it was longer because you were training so much in that condensed period of time that we just got a lot of you in a short period.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I'm surprised by is that we lucked into you because we just happened to be the first ones in Syracuse that hired you. So that's how we just lucked into you. So I have to ask, because I thought I can't be the only one who's going to hear this and think this. Your experience in Belgium, was the chocolate really, really good?
The chocolate was excellent, actually.
Okay. I had to ask.
Really some of the best chocolate. It is some of the best chocolate in the world. And the great part about it was, if you see Belgian chocolate over here in the States, it's probably more expensive. It's actually a lot cheaper over there. So it was nice to have it. Between the chocolate, I don't really drink much, but the Belgian beer was excellent. So a lot of the beers that I used to drink when I was back in the States, I found myself drinking in Belgium from where it was closely made, So everything was good over there. The food was great. But some of the cultural things were a little bit challenging, but it made the experience very unique, and it was a good time. But of course, COVID happened while I was over there, so I wasn't able to travel as much as I wanted to, unfortunately. That put a damper on the whole being overseas and living there, because once COVID hit, the country locked down, and we were essentially locked into Belgium for the whole year. And when I was over there, I couldn't even get my hair cut for a whole year, because unlike the States, I think the States were only closed for maybe about a month, maybe 2 months max. Over there, only grocery stores were open for basically a whole year. Everything else was shut down, and it was very, very frustrating.
Couldn't get your hair cut. I mean, I can imagine that must have been very painful for you. I'm going to empathize with you, but I have to imagine.
I had to get a COVID cut. So what that was, essentially my wife shaved my head a couple times. So.
Well, I've been living with a COVID cut for the last 23 years. So there you go.
There you go. Well, it looks good.
So let me ask you this. So let's go back even a little bit further. So talk me through when that period from high school going to Buffalo. Like how did you end up in your field of study? What led you to becoming a trainer and doing what you do?
Yeah, so I think the main part was I always knew that I wanted to help people. That was number one. How could I help the most people? And initially, I actually went to University of Buffalo to go for dentistry. So I wanted to be an orthodontist. but they didn't have an orthodontistry or dentistry program per se for undergraduate. So when I was there, I was kind of like, they're like, well, you need to pick a major. I'm like, well, I want to do dentistry. Well, we don't have that. Okay, so what do you suggest? And they're like, biology. I'm like, okay. So I was a bio major when I first got there for the first couple of years. And the courses were just so off the wall, so very, very generic gen ed, general education requirements like biology, evolutionary biology, cellular biology. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I know I'm a bio major, but this has nothing to do with what I want to do, which was dentistry. So needless to say, my attention drifted, and coursework was getting harder and harder, and I didn't really care for it. So the quality wasn't there. I wasn't putting forward the 100%. So the grades were dipping, and I'm like, I got to change this because I can't have bad poor grades. I've never been a poor student. So I took an exercise science course and during undergrad, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty nice, because at the time I like to lift weights, work out, and that was a big part of my life. And I'm like, you know what, why not go into a field where I actually it doesn't feel like work, it's fun, it's something I like to do. So then I started taking a bunch of exercise science courses, exercise physiology. I took a bunch of nutrition courses, and I was like, okay, I'm going to own this. And for my undergraduate level work, I actually took a major called health and wellness coaching. And once I completed that, that took me to, I always knew that I wanted to get my master's degree. So I applied for the exercise science program for the master's program at University of Buffalo, and stayed there. And I loved it. It was great. As soon as I get to the graduate level studies, it's great, because it's everything, all the class you're taking, it's absolutely what you want to do. And it makes learning and studying so much easier. So as that graduate program started to wind down after I completed all my credits, at the end, there was an internship opportunity. So one of the choices on there were Buffalo Bills. So I was like, you know what, I'd like to work with a sports team sometime. So I applied there. I interviewed with the staff, and they selected me as one of the interns. So for that summer, for that year, that from February until the start of the season, I was working with the Buffalo Bills. And unfortunately, and we talk about COVID a lot, unfortunately, I actually was interning during the time the NFL lockout was happening. So in that sense, I was working with the staff, but there were no players. So then our strength and conditioning coach, Ericsson at the time, just came from Georgia Tech, University of Georgia Tech, or Georgia Tech Institute of Technology down in Atlanta, and they needed interns. So he's like, well, I have a bunch of interns up here that aren't really doing much because of the NFL lockout. So we actually drove down to Atlanta and worked in Atlanta for about a month and a half, working with the Georgia Tech football program, until we got the call from Eric saying, hey guys, the lockout's over, come back up north. So I kind of got two internships in one. In that one, I got a chance to work with the professional football team as well as a collegiate football team all in one, because of the NFL lockout. So I kind of used that to my advantage, got a chance to have experience in both, which was I was absolutely grateful for, even though I had to travel down to Atlanta and then drive back up. So that was quite a long drive, but overall great experience. And the reason why I got into this field is because I love it. I love helping people. I love staying active and moving and being fit. And for me, it's not working. It's like I'm hanging out in the gym all day, every day. And being able to help people attain their goals, whether it's lose weight, get stronger, faster, more agile, whatever it may be, whether it's sports or just in a personal type of setting, it's grateful, it's gratifying. And I may not get a lot. It's not a very not necessarily glamour shot, but you don't get a lot of credit for it, because you can't take the credit, because it's the individuals that are actually doing the work. You're just guiding there. You're just helping them along the path. So if when I do tell this to everybody, that's like, why do you want to be why do you want to be a trainer? Why do you want to be a strength and conditioning coach? It's about helping people, helping them get to their goals. And if you're looking for the glory and the accolades, not the right field, because you'll never get that. The team gets it, the person gets it, the individual achievements. Those are the those get the glory, those get the accolades. But for me, and everyone else that's in this field, it's about helping people.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit, with personal training, I think a lot of people have experiences with personal trainers. We all know that when you join a gym, very typically you have some sort of interaction at the beginning of that process with a personal trainer. A lot of people kind of get the sense that personal trainers are kind of a cookie cutter experience, but in talking with our personal trainers recently, and certainly for the past 18 years, what I've learned about personal trainers is that everybody has really unique experiences coming into the profession. Everybody has really unique motivators that led them to the profession. There's sort of that underlying theme of wanting to help people, because if you don't want to do that, it's not the right career path for certain. But I'm curious as to what you think, your experience in the sports world, how you think that kind of differentiates you as a trainer, and what you think that experience might bring to a client that makes that experience different than a previous personal training experience they may have had.
Sure. Having a plan. That's the biggest thing is within the sports setting, there's always an end goal, and there's a timetable on that end goal, right? So within the personal training setting, I still try and put that same timetable on there. We're not necessarily trying to get right to your goals right off the bat, because you can't. Your body has to adapt. You have to train. You have to go through a bunch of sessions. But being able to establish a plan, give my clients a sheet of paper saying, hey, for the next 4 weeks, this is our plan to help you get to your goals. And that's what I provide people with, a detailed plan on how to get there. And especially with my clients recently that I've gotten, I always plan out 4 weeks ahead just to make sure they know, hey, this is where we're going. And they can actually see the progress unfold on their sheet. So whatever their goal is, whether it's hypertrophy, gaining strength, typically on the sheets, the volume is high in the beginning, and it starts to decrease as the program goes from week 1 to week 4, and then the intensity goes up. So people can actually see those almost, instead of just going through and saying, oh, I feel better, I feel stronger. Well, you're actually seeing the weights increase. You're seeing the times, like conditioning get better, so times decrease on the sheet as you're going through from week 1 to week 4. So you actually see the progress, almost like a scientific type of thing. You have data to back up your feeling of, I feel great. So that's the one thing I brought from the sports setting, is that everyone has some sort of progression, and everyone has a different way to get from point A to point B. But I want to make sure that road is highlighted through an actual program that they can actually take away with after they're done too. So even if they only do 4 weeks worth of programming, hey, this is your 4-week program, and you can repeat it as many times as you want, so that you get a little bit of the framework as you go with me. Great.
So I'm curious then, based off of that response, to know what would you say to somebody, whether they're a new exerciser or somebody who's been exercising for a very long time, who doesn't have a plan, who's kind of just, rolling up to the gym with their gym bag and walking in and doing whatever they feel like that day, or maybe they're doing the same, thing or things when they come to the gym. But that person that's just kind of playing it by ear without a plan, what advice do you have for that member, for that person?
Well, first off, to hopefully get on a plan, because you don't know where you're going if you don't have a plan. If you have a plan, you know exactly where you're going. You know exactly how to get there. If you don't know how to make a plan, find somebody that can make a plan for you, because that's a big part of it. And I always tell people too, I give them an example, a couple examples. First one is, life's going to be stressful. All right. Something outside the gym is going to happen that's going to prevent you from coming to the gym. Well, if one of those things is, I had a rough day, I know when I'm going to the gym later, I know I need to do legs, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to spin my wheels when I get there. Having a plan will alleviate that, will take that barrier away right off the bat. So you already know what you're going to do because you have your sheet, your plan with you. All you have to do is just get yourself to the gym. So you won't have that excuse of, well, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there, because I know exactly what I'm going to do when I get there. I just have to go to the gym and do it. So having that, and then also too, in regards to the folks that don't have plans, I always give the example. I mean, when I used to work at Gold Gym back in the day, and even coming back here, I actually remember some of the folks that are still here that necessarily don't use personal trainers. Well, I always ask, I ask myself, well, do they look any different from the last time I was here? And the answer is not really. So you can come to the gym and spin your wheels and kind of just go from this machine to that machine. But if you don't have a plan working towards a set goal, you may just keep wasting heartbeats and just come in and you think you're doing something, but you're not actually doing anything. So making sure you have a plan is absolutely 100% going to get you to your goals a lot faster.
I don't know who to attribute this quote to, and maybe somebody will know and will comment wherever you're happening to catch this video when you catch it. But I'm sure you're familiar with it. The old failing to plan is planning to fail.
Absolutely.
I think that's very appropriate to this conversation. Yeah. It's, for me, I struggle in the kitchen. And so when I stumbled onto the whole, meal prep thing, and we use a meal prep service in the city because it can be a struggle sometimes to get across the street to Whole Foods, and you have to wait in a line. Sometimes it's like 45 minutes long. So we went with HelloFresh, not a paid plug by any means, but sometimes it's just so easy knowing that I've got all of the ingredients that I need because they've been provided. I've got that recipe on a card with instructions, with illustrations, so I don't have to wonder if I'm interpreting it correctly. And without that, I know there are nights when there's a Shake Shack half a block that way. I know that there are nights when without that plan, I'd be over at Shake Shack because it's just easier. So that's not a great analogy, but it's the analogy that works for me. When you speak the language of food, I understand. And walking into the gym without a plan, it can be overwhelming. And some days it's just not even worth walking in when you don't have that plan. And whether it's as detailed as having that card with the description and the images, or if it's just knowing this is what I'm doing today, these are the exercises, this is the order I'm doing it in, whatever that plan needs to look like to make sure that you get in and you do it. It's important to have it, and it's like going on vacation without an itinerary. Where are you going?
Right.
You're gonna waste that vacation time? I know I'm not. I don't get enough vacation time to waste it.
Yeah, you always hear that, like, I was here, but I didn't see anything. Like, how'd you not see anything? Oh, well, if you didn't have a plan and plan to go see X, Y, and Z, then you're not going to go see X, Y, and Z because something else is going to pop up.
Exactly. Absolutely. So we've been chatting for a while, and I don't want to rattle on too long. I am a talker, and I could do this for the rest of the day if we wanted to. But before we sign off, tell us a little bit about Steve outside of the gym. So what makes you tick? What are your interests when you're not in the gym and you're not training?
Okay, when I'm not in the gym, that's a good question. Well,
I don't remember the last time I wasn't in the gym. Is there life outside the gym?
Yeah, no. Well, so my daughters keep me busy. I have a 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time for myself per se. But I'm mainly with them, just making sure that we're creating experiences for them, whether it's going to parks, taking them to see new things. When we were like I said, in Belgium for the majority of their life, we weren't able to do a lot of things because of COVID. So trying to get them out and see lights on the lake and these new things that Syracuse has to offer. And believe it or not, when I was actually transitioning to Belgium, there was a problem with my work visa. So I had to come back for 90 days. And I actually came back to Syracuse. And I grew up in Syracuse in the Fairmount Camillus area. And I actually, in that 90 days I was back in Syracuse, saw more of Syracuse and what it had to offer than my entire 18 years beforehand, before going to school. So there were things that I was thinking to myself, like Green Lakes. I had never been to Green Lakes even before when I was, 17, 18, whatever years old. I'd never been there. And I finally saw it for the first time. I was like, wow, this is what everybody's been talking about. Or like Beacon Skip apple orchards, or this or that, things I've heard about, but I never got a chance to do or see. So being able to experience it then and now re-experience it again has been really fun. But I do like, I used to play an instrument back in the day, saxophone. So I'm really into music. So I like music. I don't play very often, but every now and then I'll make sure to bust the saxophone out and play a little bit. That's another thing people don't know about me. I was actually a musician in high school, not an athlete. But if you look at me today, you wouldn't be able to tell. So when people talk about like band geeks and things like that, like you can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to be pigeonholed into something, deep down, you can be whatever you want to be. And as long as you work towards it. So, but also like movies, things like that. I think that's basically, I like to read a lot. So I like to read when like I said, when I get the opportunity. So, nonfiction books though, so stuff that actually improves. Everything that's geared towards my free time, it's geared towards self-improvement. So I try and spend time in those realms. Yeah.
Awesome. So now, first of all, I have to say, you say to look at you, you wouldn't guess musician, but I'm getting a little bit of like a jazz musician vibe now that you say it. Yeah, right? A little bit. And so now we also know that Jonas, another trainer in Liverpool, is a musician. So, yep. I mean, there's like some potential band opportunity here. I think you guys got to work on that a little bit.
He did play here yesterday for a promotion. So he brought his, I think he plays guitar, right? I can't remember.
Yeah. And he's playing again. I think on the 13th, maybe he's going to be playing again. So I sent some posters to Gil today to put up around the club to promote the next time he's playing. Check the posters, bring your saxophone that day. Maybe you can get a little informal something going. See how it goes. Yeah. Great. So one last question, and then we'll call it quits until the next time we get to chat. But how about a book recommendation for our nonfiction fans out there?
Ooh, book recommendation. Oh, that's a really good one. Let me see. There's so many good ones.
Nothing like putting you on the spot for the final question.
I know. Let's see. There's this book called Peak. It's called Peak, P-E-A-K. And I believe it's by Eric Anders, basically a psychologist from Florida State University. And it talks about being able to get to your optimal performance by the habits you create, and not only establishing habits, but seeking a professional to essentially help you get to your goals, because when you get to mastery, you can't get to mastery without the help of somebody experienced in the field and somebody that knows what they're doing. So you can try and YouTube it all the way, to a certain extent, but to be a master or a professional at something, you need to seek instruction from a professional. And this book talks about how you get there from point A to point B, and what constitutes mastery, things like that. So it's a really good book.
Peak Secrets from the New Science of Expertise by Anders Ericsson.
There we go. Anders Ericsson. For some reason, I had Anders right.
Well, I had to look it up because it sounds very familiar, and I'm looking at this, and I thought I was about to say I've read it. I haven't. I read a summary. Okay. So I subscribe to a service that gets, and I read like 10 or 12 summaries of nonfiction books every month.
Okay.
Because there's just too many to keep up on, and I did read a summary. But now, based on your recommendation and knowing that I enjoyed the summary, I may go back and read the full text. We'll see.
Right.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's watching, if you are a member of Elevate Fitness and you have not had a complimentary personal training session and you are interested in grabbing a complimentary personal training session, good news, we are giving away complimentary personal training sessions, provided you have not had one in the past year. You can simply reach out in your club by stopping by the member service center on your way in, or you can give your club a call. In Liverpool, that's going to be 315-451-5050. In DeWitt, that's going to be 315-446. Let me start that again. In DeWitt, that's going to be 315-446-0376. And you can also, if you are like, hey, a nonfiction reader who plays the saxophone and has a sports conditioning background, this is my guy right here. You can reach out to Steve directly. Your email address, did we give you Steve or Steven?
Steven, with a V.
Steven at elevatesyracuse.com. Reach out to him directly and get that set up, or call him at Liverpool. Leave a message for Steve at 315-451-5050 and get that sorted out. If you are not a member of Elevate Fitness yet, and you have not had a complimentary personal training session, and you're interested in Elevate Fitness, what we have to offer, and you would like to get a complimentary personal training session, and you are a local resident with a photo ID and you are 18 years of age or older, you also qualify for a complimentary personal training session. So use those same contact methods that I just mentioned. Reach out to us. We'd love to meet you. Steve would love to meet you. He would love to chat with you about the saxophone, the Buffalo Bills, how to best drive to Atlanta and minimize your time in traffic, and Belgian chocolates and beers. Plenty of things for you to chat about, and discovering Green Lakes as an adult and having missed out on that as a child. There are plenty of things you can bond over. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with people before we say goodbye for the day?
No, I think that's it. We covered a lot. So hopefully we see you soon.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. I know that we had several back and forths before we could find this time to connect. I look forward to chatting with you again in the future. I know next time we talk, we're going to have some very specific topics that we chat about, and we're going to start sharing some good educational information with people as they check in with us. But this was a good opportunity for people just to get to know you, and I appreciate you taking the time and letting people in. So thanks for chatting. And to everybody watching, thanks for listening to us ramble on today, and we'll chat again with you really soon. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care.
Talk soon.